Welcome back to the nationally syndicated Price of Business Show. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. And really, it's all of our business to be aware of what's happening in the crypto front. And there's nobody I'd like to talk to you more about that than Dan Roberts, longtime friend of this program, for years editor-at-large at Yahoo Finance, and is now with one of the most important news sources when it comes to all things cryptocurrency. Dan, always love having you on the program. Real quickly, talk about the crypt and how people can learn more about it, and let's get into our topic today.
Sure, Kevin, and good to be with you. Thanks for having me back on. We at Decrypt cover all of the crypto news, and of course, there's a mountain of it. You know, every week something's going on. In fact, in the past couple weeks, you could say it's been summer doldrums in terms of price and the market, and yet there continues to be news and moves made by big companies that are jumping in still, even amid the pullback. So we cover all the daily news, but we also love to educate readers. So for any of your listeners, if they want to figure this stuff out and learn more about crypto and kind of start their journey, we are the best place to do it. It's decrypt.co.
And I totally want to just say and I'm not a paid endorser. I don't have enough authority for you to pay me to endorse you. However, I'm a big fan of Decrypt. Decrypt takes you from where you are to where you want to be when it comes to understanding this. It really appeals to every level of investor, student, you name it. It's a phenomenal source. Okay, so Coinbase has been in the news a lot lately, as you well know, usually for all the reasons why a company does not want to be in the news. And that seems to be the case this week, too. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, sure. It's all about Coinbase right now. And, you know, quick background, I suspect that your listeners, if they've heard of any crypto companies, Coinbase is certainly the one. You know, if they've only heard of one, that is the company that has become the closest thing to a household name. It's publicly traded, which I think gives it a little bit of an air of trust for a lot of people. It's where the average newbie who has decided, I think I'm ready to buy a little bit of Bitcoin, is probably going to go. So they're in a good position reputation-wise. That said, the stock has been a dog and has been battered along with not just the crypto pullback, but really the broader tech stock decline. So all that said, in the past week or so, what suddenly happened, and this was after months and months and arguably years of people in crypto saying, when will the SEC give more guidance on crypto? When will it give more clarity? We need clarity. Well, a few days ago, we got some clarity, which was the SEC came out and said that it considers 9 different crypto assets to be unregistered securities, meaning they are non-compliant. 7 of those 9 are listed on Coinbase. And this is not the news you want to see if you're Coinbase, if you're the leading U.S. crypto exchange. And it's interesting. I mean, now there's pressure on Coinbase to do something, maybe delist the assets. And in fact, Coinbase rival Binance already removed one of them. But Coinbase in a blog post quickly responded, and the headline is, Coinbase does not list securities. End of story. So Coinbase is kind of bearing down and saying they're not securities. We disagree. And for now, not delisting them. And so there's going to be a real battle forming here between the SEC and companies like Coinbase. And there's history here. The CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, came out swinging maybe 6 months ago with a bunch of tweets about not liking the way the SEC goes about things. He accused them of kind of regulation via enforcement action. So instead of reaching out for a conversation and saying, here's what we think, you know, the SEC kind of just suddenly pounces and sends you a lawsuit. So this is getting very hot and very interesting for the whole industry.
So if it's not a security, what is it in the minds of the folks there at Coinbase?
Well, I guess they would say that it's a commodity. And people in crypto would prefer that the CFTC, the Commodities and Futures Trading Commission, be the governing entity. And the other kind of relevant context here, of course, and you and I talked about it months ago, the Biden administration issued an official crypto executive order. And it didn't really say much of substance other than, hey, all you agencies, hey, SEC, even the IRS, CFTC, let's all get on the same page and agree on one roadmap for regulating crypto, because these different agencies have kind of been jockeying for jurisdiction here. And, you know, the people behind the biggest crypto companies and crypto projects would prefer it not be the SEC. I'll tell you that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting.
Fact,
interesting.
Yeah. You know,
how do you see this unfolding? I mean, this is just like it seems like a further power on Coinbase, and and I'm not calling them victims, but boy, they've had a lot of negative things working against them.
Yeah, they have, and again, you know, I think of all the crypto companies, this one has been around since 2013. I don't think it's going anywhere. There is, whenever crypto crashes and Coinbase stock tanks along with it, you get a lot of tempting news articles that say, oh, Coinbase is in trouble. What if it goes bankrupt? Very unlikely to happen. You know, this is still a pretty legitimate company that makes a lot on trading fees. Even when people are selling, Coinbase makes on trading fees. So existentially, I don't think it's concerning. It's more of a relevant, crystal ball question for the whole industry. How is this industry going to be regulated? What are companies and projects and platforms going to do if the SEC basically says, which it has sort of implied, but it hasn't put out a specific rule, if the SEC views every newly created token as an unregistered security, and by the way, that doesn't mean you can't launch it, but that means you have to be SEC compliant, which takes months and maybe even years, a lot of red tape. So if everyone agrees that's what the SEC is going to be doing, and if that's scary enough, the threat of enforcement, you're going to see a major change, because in the last 3 years or so, what new crypto projects do is they launch a token. You got to have a token. Mm-hmm. And the SEC has basically said, these are all unregistered securities, and you got to register them with us through the various traditional methods. And of course, what crypto people say is, this is a totally new industry, and it needs to be approached differently.
Yeah, and it's interesting that, first of all, largely unregulated for an incredibly long time, and now it seems like a lot of regulations very quickly at a very unstable time anyway. It's likely that crypto would have challenges because of its relative newness, just because of what's going on in the larger economy. Meanwhile, you've got this real tough regulatory environment, historically speaking, happening at the same time. It's kind of a perfect storm.
Yeah, 100%. And, the other thing I'd add, too, is that people need to keep in mind during this time, I can't say this enough, crypto has been battered since May. Yes, there have been a couple prominent collapses of crypto companies because of the crypto crash, but don't make the mistake that this is just crypto specific. I think more than any crypto pullback since 2010, this one has been about the broader economy and tech stocks. It's all happening in unison. And in fact, there have been a couple days in the last month or so where tech stocks went down again, but Bitcoin and Ethereum rose in those days, suggesting that it still has the chance to kind of break out and behave differently. But for now, during this down cycle, stocks and crypto have behaved in lockstep. And I see that as a promising thing for crypto, because what it means is this isn't like, oh, the death of crypto, everyone's turning on it. It means that it's simply a risk-off environment.
Well, and not only that, if it had no regulations, people would really be dumping it right now. So there's a certain legitimacy that, as we talked before about regulations, free market guys can trash regulations all day long, but it's one of those, hey guys, the water's fine type of things, and no one wants to get in and certainly stay in if it's completely Wild West. So, no question about it. Dan Roberts, he's a frequent guest on this show. We love having him on. The Crypt.co is his website, one of my favorites in this space. And I'm Kevin Price. Stay tuned for more after this.